We are about 80 days away from NBA regular season opening night. That means fantasy mock draft season. That also means we have ADP data to help us prepare and dominate our drafts and win our leagues. Now, a lot of us know the top tier guys going into next season's drafts, but we're here to dissect the top 50 ranked players based on early ESPN ADP data. Now, just very quickly, for those of you that are new to fantasy hoops, or those just needing a reminder, ADP is average draft position. Essentially, where in fantasy drafts are our guys being taken? Before we get into it, I just wanted to introduce myself to the audience for those that don't know me. I'm D-Mac from NBA Fantasy Bible. You may have seen me as the co-host of Between Two Hoops. Shout out to Kayla Fonte. I'm actually a new contributor with Believe in Fantasy, so thank you so much, Robin Marks. Along with me today is another Believe in Fantasy category league expert, Matty G. G'day, mate.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, handsome. How you doing?
Yeah, doing really well. How have you been?
Oh, look, just confused by ADP data left, right, and center, and just wondering if Cade Cunningham really is the number 2 to number 10 asset in fantasy basketball this season.
Yeah, controversial video the other night, wasn't it?
Mate, controversial coming out the gate people taking homers, but what I guess it affirms for me is that there is a really changing of the guard right now. You and I were talking about it. There is an absolute guard shortage. I did that post with Kyrie being out on Instagram. Just check it out on @NBAGWiz. We were talking and it was like Kyrie out to start the season. End of first round guy. The number 1 first round guy obviously is Tyrese Halliburton. He's out. You've got Darius Garland that's going to go back draft boards, obviously being injured to start the season. Going into camp okay, but a slow ramp up at the end of October into November. You've got these elite guards out of the system. And then I didn't even mention DeJounte Murray in the post. Someone said, you didn't mention DeJounte Murray. I'm like, yeah, because DeJounte Murray wasn't a top 50 player last year. There's 4 guys in the top 50 out. So people are going to be reaching for guards super, super early this year. DG and then Dame Lillard, top, 25 player historically. He's out of the way. So it's going to be wild out here on these streets this year, mate.
Absolutely. And we'll talk about positional and statistical scarcity later on and in future episodes as well. But thank you for joining me. We're going to get into the top 50 ESPN. Let's go straight into it. So what we've done, ESPN top 50 ADP data. We've done it by ranks. So we'll go through those top 50 guys. There's going to be a few surprises, but what we're looking for is just looking at the ADP based on what you guys have been drafting in ESPN. Traditionally, ESPN, I guess, has been a bit more of a points league sort of area, bit more of a platform for those guys. And that gives us great opportunities to possibly even exploit these numbers when it comes to our own drafts. Have you seen that as well, Matty?
Yeah, absolutely. And what it affirms for me is that no matter if you're a category player or a points league player, the big 3 is still the big 3. It's Jokic, Shea, and Wemby. These are the 3 players. The people are sitting around and are putting in a lot of their first 3 picks stock and trading. And it really does show that also with the 9-cat -1 data or the 8-cat data. No matter which way you split the dice, those guys are pretty much the top 3 anyway you see it. With Shea, funnily enough, being the one that drops out the most, as you can see there in ESPN points leagues, even though he is the points leader last year in the NBA, he's 4th, which is, I thought, the most curious thing right there.
Yeah. And keep in mind that this episode is not just for category league players. Yes, we are more familiar with category league players, but this is definitely for ESPN points league players as well. A lot of opportunities. This is ADP data as of the 1st of August. We are looking at 1st of August data. So this is really interesting. We will also monitor how this shapes and how this trends over time as we approach October 21 being opening night as well. But top 5, no surprises really here. ESPN points compared to category league is interesting, but again, no surprises in the top 5.
Yeah, not at all. And this is what we're kind of looking. The only one there is probably Giannis this year is getting more of a bump with those outs that I discussed earlier. Tyrese in category leagues, you're kind of telegraphing your build when you take Giannis in the first round and say, hey guys, I'm not really going to zone in hard on free throw percentage because of the volume that he gets and the percentage that he shoots from it. It can be an uphill battle to claim some of that back. I've seen it done. by taking him early, but it's almost a little bit of a like, hey, look, this is where my focus is going to be straight off the rip.
Yep. And we're going to do a lot more content talking about pairs in the first 2 rounds, talking about how we build our team, balance versus punts. We'll go into that in the future, but for now, we'll carry on. Top 5, no real surprises, but you can see with obviously supposedly struggles with the categories, as you said, you're punting free throws, but with that -1 comes into the top 4, so no surprise right there.
Absolutely.
Looking at 6 through to 10. Anything interesting here? So Ant Edwards at number 6. It's traditionally a little bit high, even across the board. It points through to categories. It looks a little bit high for me.
Yeah, look, it is, and we saw this last year after the I guess the gold medal Team USA, like Ant Edwards' breakout year, and we saw him come into the end of some first round of drafts in ADPs, and then we saw it cool in him definitely going as a second round asset, and this is where he finishes up at the end of the day. In points in category leagues, Anthony Edwards has been a second round player traditionally, but again, with the absence of now Jason Tatum in the first round, factoring that on. I know it's not a shooting guard, but still it's the first time I can remember that you've got 2 assets who are first round picks out there. You can definitely see the lean into like, oh, but if I get Ant, I'll get a lot of points and I'll get other stuff. He's coming on. The most egregious one here is Domantas Sabonis at number 7. Absolutely shocking to me when I saw this the other day in ADP data. Can you make heads or tails of that one?
It's based on points league, mate. So 9.4 ADP. Look at his ESPN points. So that's bang on in terms of points leagues. And those of you in the Believe network that follow points traditionally know that Domantas Sabonis is a top 10 asset. But we know in category leagues, he does have holes in his game. So, that makes sense because ESPN is so much leaning towards points leagues.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, Anthony Davis at 8. I know he's one of your guys as well. I think you may have picked him in one of the most recent mock drafts.
I think I did because he was still on the board at like 6 or 8, wherever I was drafting. And I'm like, look, Anthony Davis, as we like to call him, is in category leagues an absolute stud muffin. He was top 3, top 4 last year before the trade. Obviously, he going down. And you always have that quote-unquote injury risk with him. Now, with Kyrie being out to start the season, I think he is in line if Dallas is going to push and be relevant because they look good in the West. And it's going to be a very competitive West. And he needs to be competitive and on the floor. And I think they want that. I think we get that. And taking him here at 8 is an absolute lock for me in the category leagues. If Anthony Davis is a top 5 player in fantasy, is on your board, and you can get 70 to 75 games, hopefully out of him next year, you are absolutely laughing because you can see there that he is a top 5 player in 9 cat -1, 9 cats alone 4, and 8 cat 4th. Like an absolute monster. And in points leagues, he can line it up as well, being the 6th ranked player.
The fact that he's got center position in ESPN, does that put you off? Because I believe that ESPN does have a limit of 4 or maximum 4 centers. Does that put you off at all?
Look, it does, but depends on how. So you can also check your leagues because you can put dual eligibility. I know in some last year he was dual eligible for both forward and center positions. If you are not just an ESPN, he is dual eligible in Fantrax. He is dual eligible in Yahoo. So this is where when you're drafting in the ESPN format, just know your settings and chat to the commissioner as well because he's not starting it. I mean, he might play it, but he doesn't really with Derek Lively either. So you could have a chat to the commissioner, put it out there in chat and get him dual eligibility. We know that Derek Lively will start 100% this season. D-Live will be starting at center. Anthony Davis will be listed as power forward and will be playing power forward minutes. So with Gafford at the rotation as well, he's definitely power forward eligible. You got to get that sorted in your league and know your settings right there.
You touched on a good point. We are looking at ESPN tonight, guys, but of course we will be breaking down Fantrax Yahoo data as well as it comes out. Number 9, the King, LeBron James. Surprise there for points leagues, not so much. Category leagues, what do you think?
Yeah, he's getting a bit of a bump in category leagues. I've seen him in the second round. This is way too early, but again, shows you the asset the King still is in NBA fantasy for points leagues coming into the first round. Absolutely huge. Like that's 2 Lakers in the top 10 for only team so far to do it. And look, they might score a lot of points. We don't know about the defense there this year with Ayton as the anchor. But yeah, this is way too early in category leagues. You can look to take LeBron Davis in cat leagues, mostly in the 3rd round, maybe late 2nd. But you can traditionally these days get him from the turn in the 3rd round.
Absolutely. And rounding out the top 10, Cade Cunningham, you mentioned him. He went 2nd in a mock that you did the other day. Controversial, I know, but top 10 feels about right.
Yeah, top 10's right. Top 10's right this year for him. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is. As you can see there in ESPN last year, this is where he gets it. He was 8th in points leagues. So getting the 8th best player last year, who you could probably expect to take another leap this year, best Cade season we've ever had in fantasy last year. He gets another month this year. Sure, he could be 6th, 7th, 8th again, but he might be 5th. And if you're taking him at 10, there's a little bit of juice in that value in the first round, especially when you've missed out on guys who you think are going to be 5th, like maybe Sabonis or someone like that. So I love it. 9 categories last year, he was at the end of 2nd round players. You can see there being 19th with the -1 value pushing to the fringe of the first round. And again, like I mentioned, with the absence of guys like Tyrese Halliburton, Jason Tatum, there's creating a bit of a vacuum. And recency bias as well after the awesome performances of Cade Cunningham in the playoffs last year. He was like an MVP for the Pistons, and he's now going to be maybe one of the MVPs in your fantasy season. But first round still feels like a luxury, like the ceiling that he is, but it's huge.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a big target of mine. Just again with the statistical scarcity, he provides good assists. He's just the all-round guy. I know he's a top 5 or 6 dynasty guy as well, so he's still a young guy. He's got some upside there, but a top 10 feels about right across all formats as well. Yeah. Now, before we get into 11 through to 15, just wanted to mention something really important. Now, if you'd like to become and support the Believe in Fantasy channel, consider becoming an MVP community member. You'll get access to priority DM and email responses, exclusive MVP Discord access with all of our experts, including Maddie and myself, and for the first time ever, private podcast that answers all of your questions weekly. I'm sure that we'll probably be on there, Maddie, without doubt. Will, so to join, just visit believeinfantasy.com. Okay, let's get into the next 5. 11, Jalen Brunson. Damn, that is high.
Yeah, man. But look, this is what he does. And again, the recency bias, but he is, as you can see there, he has never been inside the top 25 points. This is a massive for me. This is one of the avoid early swings for me. Jalen Brunson in the first round, not happening. Not happening in points leagues, not happening in cat leagues. This is one who's been overdrafted way too early for me.
Way too early. Not to mention, I would expect all of the Knicks minutes to come down slightly. No more Thibs.
Yep.
New coach. I think they'll look after their health a little bit more, prioritize them to be healthy for playoffs.
Yeah.
I think we'll see those numbers actually diminish. So being taken in the first round of any format is, we believe, a big, big mistake. His teammate.
But I see this is fine, though. And this is the funny thing. We say that like a new coach, less minutes. But Cat still had a very incredible season last year. He was top. He was first round value. Here at the tail end, I still think that he improves efficiency wise in New York. He will have his role. He'll just lose some minutes, but he was highly effective last year. But this is about where you want to take him. You want to take him around 12 because you're not going to probably see him go past 15. So this is about one of the most spot on areas. And in fact, I've also seen him push up around to between 8 to 10. So at 12 for him is fine, because the next player is a very interesting one, because again, this starts the role of guards at the end of that fringe of the turn of the first round to the second round. Steph, Trey, and Harden in a wholly triumvirate point guard glory in the second round of 12-team leagues. What are your takes here, mate?
Yeah, you just look at the ADP compared to ESPN points ranking from last season. This seems more like a category league selection, which is pretty crazy. Are we expecting him to do more? He's getting on now. Are we expecting him to do more and try to push the Warriors into that playoff mode?
Look, man, I don't think so. I think we're seeing a second round Steph now, and it's it is what it is. Like, he is still an incredible player, but again, there are deficiencies in his game. We know that his field goal percentage isn't as elite as it always was. We know that his 3-point percentage has dropped slightly and somewhat, but still will make you a bundle of points, will get you some assists. Jimmy Butler in town as an extra, as an extra soldier has helped, maybe touched his value and dinged it just a tad there. But again, the burden isn't always on him to have to carry the Warriors. This year for him in category leagues is right around when you want to start looking for him last year. He showed his skills last year being basically in the first round. This is where you want to take him. In points leagues, though, points isn't just it, because points is points, assists and rebounds and everything that he brings to the party. And that's where you can get the ding. This is where it's really interesting, because Trae Young being at 14th is 14th. And if you take off his other, like 41st in 9-cat, but in 8-cat and -1, he's 15th. Like, the bump for him is massive. But in points leagues, man, with those assists and points, this is fine for you, right?
Oh, definitely. Another big target of mine at the end of the first round. I think he has another fantastic season, not to mention his durability. He's always been known to, apart from one season, he's typically playing above 70 games per season. I love him. I think he works really well against our guy, alongside of our guy, Dyson Daniels, as well. They complement each other nicely. So end of first round for Trae Young in any format is fine. And those of you that look at the 31st ranked 9-cat ranking, I tend to disregard turnovers. And let's be honest, the later on you get into a draft, the harder it is to get these assists. So I think it all evens out anyway. So you're going to get a high usage, high assist guy, high turnovers guy. You take the good with the bad, and it all evens out later on. James Harden, I actually think this ADP is a little bit low.
Yeah, this is a curious one for him. I think we're going to see him make his way into the first round again in category leagues this year, and you can see why. ACAT, that -1 value, putting the turnovers to the side. People tend to ignore that one quite easily, and it gets an inflation. New team this year to gel with and mesh within the Clippers, so he's going to have to be a stable rock. But he'll get you points, he'll get you some threes, and he'll get you those assists and buckets. Had a great year last year, so no problem with 15 with Harden for me.
Do you think some of the old guys coming into that team, CB3, Bradley Beal, does that ding his value in any way whatsoever?
Bradley, stand over there, catch the fucking ball and shoot it. There you go. There's your job. And I think his description there is pretty easy. They have mentioned that they would like to see him as a secondary ball handler at times. And I think that might be a pressure relief valve for Harden, but I do still think that he is the pony that we run around with Kawhi, and Beal has gone from being the third banana to being the third banana. Let's not get it twisted. He was the third dude in Phoenix. He's going to be at best the third dude here. I like the lob threat that Collins has for Harden there this year, though. Something that he used to do that a little bit more with Derrick Jones Jr. Shout out to DJ. And Norm Powell wasn't that athletic guy. I think we could even see some small ball lineups with John Collins at the 5.
And we've seen him play the 5 in the past with a great deal of success. When he was at the Hawks, he was a top 20 guy. We loved him there. Don't forget CP3. Return to the Clippers. A lot of fan love about that. Even if you're not a Clippers fan, it's just great to see.
Yeah, 100%. So look, I see him getting in there this year. I see him doing the job. And if you're taking him in category leagues at 15, bang on, you're golden.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next 5. KD at 16 with an ADP of 18.1. How do you see that, mate?
Yeah, this is fine. This is fine. This is where he is in points leagues. This is why he's at 18 in points leagues. And there's nothing really here for him, for Maxey, for Booker, or for Paolo Banchero. They're all going around the similar places that they went or they should be returning in points leagues. So let's just point leagues in a bunch. The only reason that you're seeing Booker pop up to 19 is because there's more points for him to get in Phoenix this year. That's fine. In category leagues, all these guys are second, third round guys. They're all in that kind of space apart from Paolo Banchero, because we know in category leagues that he is not a top 20 player in category leagues. He has the deficiencies of percentages and efficiencies and turnovers. In category leagues, he is a great pairing with Giannis. Whew. Absolutely massively good pairing with Giannis. But this is not one in category leagues we try and grab in the second round. We can let him fall to us to put some pepper on that steak later. The big thing here is Cooper Flag filling the cup off the gates, current ADP 18, overall in points and category leagues 21.8 DMAC. Is this too soon for the Rook?
A lot of people would say it's too soon. I have high hopes, and he just has that fantasy stat set that really is conducive to not just categories, but even points leagues. I think he's going to be better in category leagues just because of his efficiency.
Me
He
too.
does turn the ball over a lot, but as I said, turnovers is not really a concern of mine. But 21.8 seems a little bit high. I think you can wait. I think he goes a little bit later in real leagues and real drafts, I should say. It's interesting to see that just in early ADP data, 21.8, ranked 18th.
I'm bringing up the draft that we're in right now. Where did I take him? Because I swear I just tried to piss you off. Did I do that? Did I manage to? Did I upset you? Did I upset your day a little bit?
A little bit, mate. Yeah, I was looking at Cooper
so.
Flag, but it seemed like other people were looking at him as well, and these are industry experts.
This industry expert draft is unlike any draft we've ever done before. It's a 10-team draft, and I think I might be in for doing leagues like this in the future. You have to draft one player from every team before you can take a player from that team again. So it's a slow draft. There's a sheet you've got to fill in. It's much like let's say an NBA draft where you take every team takes one player, but there's 10 teams. So you get to choose across. And then in the 5th round, I was just biding my time. I'm like, who am I going to take? Who am I going to take? I had to put over a barrel and deal with the next one, but I had to take Cooper Flag in that 5th round. And that's the latest that I've taken him, only because of that caveat about who are you taking from the Dallas Mavericks in within 30 picks of each other.
And Matty G, it's probably because I was forced to take with my 30th pick. I was in slot number 10 of 10, Alex Sarr, because he was the last guy left. I needed to take a Washington guy. So that's a lot of fun. Alex Sarr at 30 is not advisable. But yeah, it is a very interesting mock draft. Very, very interesting. But let's move on. Let's get to the next 5. Donovan Mitchell, ranked 21 with an ADP of 22.5. Looking across his stats from last season, it looks like he may have more to do. Darius Garland is out to start the season, but people are thinking he's going to have a lot to do.
Yeah, and again, when we mentioned this earlier at the top of the pod, DG out for the start of camp, like coming back into camp, taking it easy to start the season. He's expected back in November. The season starts October 22nd, if I'm not mistaken, this year. So what? We're taking like 8 to 15, like 3 weeks, a month tops of Donovan Mitchell being the number one point guard and option there, especially without Ty Jerome there as the backup. Like, it is what it is. But this is, for me, this is must. Look, I'm not going to say he fell off last year because we all know that Donovan Mitchell can blow up in a moment. And when he gets those 50-point games, mate, they're hugely beneficial to winning. But this is, he doesn't fall out of the second round, does he?
He doesn't. And I think it's because the previous season, he was close to a first-round guy, if not firmly in that first round.
Fringy, yeah.
But we've seen, fringe first round, but we've seen the likes of Darius Garland, Evan Mobley step up. Even Jarrett Allen has just been solid just the last couple of seasons as well. So he hasn't needed to do it. The Cavs have just tried to play it safer with these guys. We saw it at the end of the regular season where they were resting some of these guys. So they were looking towards playoff mode. They don't care about our fantasy team, but we obviously do.
They definitely do not care about our fantasy at this time of day. Like they just want that. Someone who also doesn't care about our fantasy team so much is San Antonio, because these guys are all over the shop. Because Pascal Siakam there is a bump with Tyrese being out. He's getting a bump this season. People are obviously putting a lot of focus on him in Indiana. That is what it is, but it's a reach inside the second round. That is just ridiculous for me. I don't see him being there. Do not touch that with a bar of soap. The Jalen Williams is expecting a breakout, 23 in points in category leagues. We've seen it be his ceiling is in the second round. So taking him here is absolutely fine for me, because this is kind of what the premium you've got to pay is. If you're not getting him in, you're basically taking Jalen Williams like last year in the third round, or you're not going to get him in your draft.
Can a guy be and have a breakout season 3 seasons in a row? Because it seems like Jalen Williams just keeps getting better and better.
Shut up, D-Mac. Jalen Williams can do anything he wants. He's Jalen Williams.
Not a hater. I
Anything he
love
wants.
J-Dub. J-Dub. We'll talk about a different Jalen later on as well. So he's sort of in the same vicinity, but not
There's
according to
84.
ADP data.
There's 84 Jalen's to discuss. So let's do it.
That's true. That's true. De'Aaron Fox at 24 with an ADP of 24.7 seems right for ESPN points, but for
Yep.
category leagues, do you think that's too high?
Yeah, look, he has his efficiencies from the free throw line, and especially does get there on volume that drags him down. He's -1, you can see there at 37, but his 8 category league with those efficiencies and the turnovers do kind of play out a little bit for him. The second round is too early, but again, in points leagues, we only had a small sample size of him with Wemby. We didn't get to see that. So the assists, I think, are going to be there because the lob threat that Wemby is with him, and it's also different because I heard this thing about when why can't they do this? It's when a left-hander goes with a left-hander. Like, why is there not this connection? Well, now he's got a left-hander going with a right-hander, so he can work on the opposite side of the floor a little bit more opposite. So, I was hearing this breakdown about like how they've worked in their pick and roll pairings in some of their workouts they've done and some of the loose gameplay that they did in training. So I'm like, yeah, that's going to be something. So. Here, no, but I would see him going in most leagues in around the 30s. Would probably see where I think his ADP settles, mate. But again, with the lack of point guards, he might get a little bit of a bump into the end of the second round. But I definitely see him going off the board in the third and fourth round this year.
Rookie Dylan Harper doesn't concern you in terms of De'Aaron Fox's value?
He's 1 day away from being 1 day away, especially this year. Like Dylan Harper, you've got Stephen Castle there. That's more of a concern with me with his come on in the second. He is the point guard that they're going to have if they're going to push him now for any kind of playoff run or contention. It's what De'Aaron Fox does. They want him there. They paid him to be there. And I think we see that come in the next. I think we see a contract work out with De'Aaron Fox very, very soon. And he's there because then they can cut bait on him and they can go to Dylan Harper in 3 years' time. And that matches a Wemby timeline with Stephen Castle a lot more with their young team. De'Aaron Fox is coming into veteran. He's getting on. And they can shift away from him, but he will still be the point guard there this year. And those minutes that CP3 go, well, they'll be absorbed by by Dylan Harper quite easily.
Rounding out the top 25, Scotty Barnes had a bit of an off season or a down season last season, but the prior season, he was outstanding. But 27.1, his ADP, do you think that's about right?
Look, I do. Scotty Barnes was a second-round player last year for many of us in the drafts. Obviously didn't reach those heights, and there were shenanigans aplenty in Toronto last year. Again, shout out to Kayla, but there was just Emmanuel quickly out, Barnes out. They had to find their feet. Brandon Ingram is coming into this lineup. It's a shaky pick until we see any kind of work in the preseason, how it works. So this is a very confident pick right now to take him at 27. This is him at ceiling. But if I can get him in my drafts in the late 30s, 40s, I'm a much happier man and feel more confident about it.
I agree. It's going to be interesting to see how it works with Brandon Ingram, but yeah, a lot of wings there to work with. Now, starting at 26, another Jalen.
It's like walking into Hooters and where's the ranch sauce? There's just a lot of wings here, guys.
A lot of wings.
Give me the ranch sauce.
Jalen Brown at 26 with an ADP of 29.4. That's well high or well above what we saw last season. But of course, no Jason Tatum, no Drew Holiday, no Kristaps Porzingis,
no Kristaps.
There's a lot of usage to be had. What do you think of Jalen Brown here?
Look, I think there's a lot of usage to be had, and that's the point. There's a lot of and we've seen him be the Eastern Conference Finals MVP and the NBA Finals MVP, and we've seen him with a chip on his shoulder. And we've seen what he did last year when Tatum went down. The next game out, he came back and he fired away, and that's an aberration of what we see. But we're not seeing the organizational insecurity that Boston has, where they've pretty much said that, yeah, we'll play and we'll be okay. Or, hey, guys, we'll go for a draft pick. And who are you going to rest number one if that's the case? It's going to be Jalen Brown.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, by the way, Danny Ainge still whispers in Brad Stevens' ear all the way from Utah to Boston, be like, "Hey, have you heard about resting guys with no reason? I've got this guy Lowry here. I tell you what, mate, don't play him half the time. It's hilarious."
You mentioned Lowry. We'll talk about him a little bit later when we go through some of our sleepers. But Jalen Brown, are you taking him at pick 26 or around that 26 to 30 mark?
Look, Look, yeah, in the 30s, I'm gonna have to flirt with it. He's a drink. I'm gonna have to buy him a drink at the bar if he's still on the board around 30, just to see what kind of run I can get out of him and see if I can shift him off in category leagues. He does have his deficiencies by way of turnovers, by way of poor efficiency from both the field, but also the free throw line with how he gets there, unless he works on that free throw. You can see his category leagues there last year, all well up, but look, I'm happy to get him outside of the 40s if I can. But again, it's name value, and name value brings back something. And that's sometimes going way too early in your drafts.
Yeah, I think that's about right for points leagues, and I'm with you. Category leagues, if I can get him outside the top 40, I think we could go for it. And even we know that points is sometimes difficult to come by later in drafts as well. So we know that he provides a ton of those. Alperen Şengün, another guy that just really thrives in points leagues, but not so much in category leagues.
Yeah, look, Alpi's a bit of a darling. Everyone loves a bit of an Alpi Şengün in both categories and points leagues, and he can tend to be overdrafted. And we saw this last year with him settling in around the 40s, 50s. Some people getting him in the 60s, and then he has his moments where he looks like an absolute stud, or he'll be injured and then he'll be out. This is too early, but you can see why in points leagues, and this is an ESPN specialty. The going right here is bang on the money, and you're getting him again this year with KD in tow in town. You can expect a little bit less by way of points, maybe some more assists. So there's some give and there's some leeway here. But look, around 30 for him is where I'd be looking to take him on draft day. Vooch, I'd almost feel better about, funnily enough.
Is that right? Oh, we may actually disagree on something. Vucevic here, I am really concerned about Vucevic's value.
I'm not. He still was really good. I mean, I hate saying it. I hate saying it. Last year, Vucevic was the 17th ranked player, according to Basketball Monster. And when I looked at the data, I was like, wait a minute, what? He played 73 games, 31 minutes a night. And we're going to trade Vooch. We're going to trade Vooch. We hear it. They're going to trade Vooch. Well, they didn't fucking trade Vooch. And he's still there. And he ended up being the number one ranked player for the Bulls last season at 17 over the course of the whole year. And in fact, in the last 3 months, when the Josh Giddey glow up, that everyone's like, oh yeah, but then Giddey take on, and Giddey was the man. Like, okay, yeah, he was, and Giddey played really well. I am not so easily dismissing Vooch anymore, because I'm going to just put him on my radar and see where he goes, because down the line, he was still the 37th best player with the last 3 months with the glow up of Giddey. Giddey moved to be the 21st player. Vooch was the 37th player, still playing 30 minutes a night of basketball. So he plays less than Kobe White, who was the 52nd ranked player. And I don't know, like maybe Buzelis takes the step up this year, but do you see anything else in Chicago? I actually think he might be a lock around here. And if he's falling to 32, I think I'm going to have to fly the Vooch flag.
Mate, you might be on your own. Let's bookmark this, because I want to come back to this. I don't feel the same about Vucevic. I don't think they're going to prioritize him. I think they're looking to ship him at any situation possible. If they can get anything in return.
They've been shipping him since he got there from bloody Orlando, D-Mac.
They have.
I don't know if this guy's. Is he still living out of a suitcase?
They finally got some trades done last season. I think they just couldn't get it across the line. I think Vucevic is in dire straits here. I don't think he'll be a bull to finish the season, to be honest. But I am
fine with him in the 30s. That's all I'm going to say. I'm fine with it. I'm not going to like spit someone out for it, but I'm fine with it.
Speaking of someone who can be a bit divisive, Ja Morant, points league specialty, but category leagues, we know he has deficiencies. But you look at the -1, yes, he turns the ball over a fair bit. Efficiency can sometimes be of a concern as well. 34.8 ADP, ranked 29. Is that too high?
Not in points leagues. Look, look again. This is the thing between categories. You can see here that the difference between the category leagues and points leagues, I think should be like Ja Morant should have a t-shirt like, hey, I'm really good in points leagues. because the bump that he gets in points leagues, you can see here, especially with Desmond Bane being out of the way, for him, this is exactly where you want to be probably taking him. 35 last year, 30 this year is fine. I expect to see a little bit more of a bump with him in points leagues, sorry, in category leagues as well this season, away from where he finished last year. But look, this is fine in points leagues. But this is way too early in cat leagues. In fact, you should be looking at him in category leagues around the 50 marker. It should be like, okay, let me check my draft board by 50, and if Ja Morant's there, cool, I'll get a player. If he plays games that can do okay by me.
Yep, agree on this one. And to round out the top 30, Evan Mobley. I love this guy, category league guy, but also very, very valuable in ESPN points. He was 33rd in ESPN points last season.
Yeah, this is fine. This is great value for Mobley. He is truly one of the MVPs of our fantasy season last year. I won't say it's a breakout because it was expected. Breakouts when it's probably more like just surprising. This is someone who I really love seeing do really, really well. He's one of my MVPs. Just like if you want to be an MVP for Believe, jump on. Check out the link below, believeinfantasy.com. Just upgrade it. Do it. Get the like and subscribe. The details are down below here in the clip. It's cheap as chips. It's MVP data, expert analysts. You got me, you got DMAC, you got Robin in the cart doing all the work. You've got a VIP weekly question and answer. There's an expert chat as well. It's just going off, especially this early in the preseason.
Building a squad, mate. We're building a squad.
Building a huge squad. We've got it. There's even a bench, which is amazing. We don't have to play all the minutes. It's not New York anymore. So it's absolutely huge. Make sure you check it out right here on believeinfantasy.com for more details and join up today, DMAC.
Love it. Speaking of Believe, someone I believed in last season, it turned out to be a pretty good call. Amen Thompson, ADP of 35.3, got more to do. The upside is there. Looking at those ranks is somewhat deceiving because we know that after he took his place in the starting lineup, things were just fantastic, amazing, onwards and upwards for him. So do you think this is appropriate at an ADP of 35.3?
No, 35.3 is too early. New horse to feed. Kevin Durant's his name. Thompson's great. This isn't it for me. Way too early. You're expecting upside that I don't think we get from him this year. And this is like the tale of two cities. It's the same. Look at the next one, DeMar DeRozan. Can he be that good in Sacramento? Well, they need him to do stuff, but there's Zach LaVine there again, like he was in Chicago. Yeah, cool. This is he's a good stable horse in both of these leagues from 50 onwards. I start looking at guys like DeMar and that onwards. This 32 is way too overdrafted, way too early. Putting a line through that one. Josh Hart's a curious case. One of the absolute breakout stars who I expected from 2 seasons ago happened last year in New York. That's okay. Don't see any problems with it there. He will fill it up. He will fill your cup across it, and it won't look sexy until you realize he's pretty much played a whole season with a triple-double DMAC.
Yep, and so durable as well. We talk about that, but that is the 10th category. A couple of heat players, Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero. Bam Adebayo has sort of fallen off in terms of category leagues. He's taking more threes. Kelly Ware's now at the 5. I think it has impacted his fantasy game, but in points, still fantastic. 35th last season.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what it is with Bam. Like, he's a team that didn't know what they were doing last year. They struggled with their identity with Jimmy Butler on the roster. What are you going to do about it? It was he tried to be the good soldier. I do think with a bit of consistency this year that he could really push in the zombie Heat team that could just cruise into the top 8 in the East. That's present. I think I'm in on Tyler Hero this year. I think I've told this to you. I think this is a guy that I'm really okay with around the 30s onwards because everyone's like, if he doesn't do anything else, I'm like, actually, yeah, he kind of does. Like, Tyler Hero does stuff. He was the 34th best player in the last 3 months of last year. He played 39 games. He played 35 minutes a night, 23.8 points, 2.6 threes, 4.6 rebounds isn't bad, DMAC.
That's fantastic from a guard position. I think people forget that Jimmy's not coming back, guys. This is not just a fill-in role. Tyler Hero is the man on that team.
4.6 rebounds is no slash. He actually does get involved on the rebounds. Oh, yeah, but he doesn't pass the ball. He's a hog. Yeah, he's 5.9 assists. Maybe it's not like 12 like Trae Young. Fair enough, the NBA leader. But if you're giving me 5.9 assists, I'm kind of okay with that around this point. Oh, but he doesn't do anything. Like, he doesn't do anything defensively. No, he just doesn't block shots. He gets 0.3 a game in the last 3 months. He actually got 1.1 steals per game. He got at least a steal a game to add your like a 1 in that category and a 1 for that points a game for the last 3 months of the year. He shoots the ball at 475, 476 for the last 3 months. And as the free throw, he averages 5 attempts almost a game, well, just over 4, but he's an 890 free throw shooter. His turnovers were
that's elite numbers. That's elite numbers with the Z score for those that are in category leagues. That is elite for free throws. That is very difficult to find.
That is absolutely massive. And his turnovers are 2.8 per game. And that's what bangs him. Now, if you take that out, I'm telling you, I think I might be a Tyler Hero fan this season. And I'm starting to draft him in places as well.
Well, baby, I love to hear that because he is in my dynasty team. I did win a 30 deep with him in my team, but I also had Jason Tatum.
We need a hero.
He is my hero, baby. But let's move on. 36 to 40. We're going to drive this home, this top 50. But Franz Wagner at 36, Chet Holmgren at 37.
Yeah, look, both of these guys are fine right around here. I think Chet takes a step up this year. This is him at his ceiling, operating right here. As you can see, his ranks on the board don't reflect that this year. But Chet Holmgren generally does not fall out of drafts into the past the third round. There is a very good reason for that because he can bring it across the board for us, and that's what we love to see. Jamal Murray, next up. This is a curious one. This is a bang on. This is in points leagues, bang on where he generally tends to go. But he really had a resurgence in category leagues last year, D-Mac, that kind of went a little bit under the radar.
It absolutely did. I think a lot of people were hesitating in drafting him. They saw what he did at the Olympics. He was absolutely garbage. They thought this is going to carry over to NBA regular season. It didn't. He was fantastic. He was with his boy, Nikola Jokic. Loved it. He was back with the fam. Look at that. 17th in 9-cat last season, 28th in -1. That's a great season.
Really good season for him. So look, I can expect similar things with Denver this year, with Cam Johnson coming in, Michael Porter Jr. being out, Bruce Brown coming back into the fold to help support there, some familiar faces around and some consistency back in that team. And it's not consistency, it's just the same guys they've known and played with, and they had very good chemistry with Bruce Brown initially. So I love that. Austin Reeves here. This is this Lakers tax? A Lakers tax pick? Right here?
I think it is. A lot of Lakers fans on the ESPN. But you look at those numbers, even in category leagues last season, go, wow, that's actually surprisingly good. So 43 sort of lines up with that. I just don't see it. I think Luka takes on more of a lead role this season. Look, I like Austin Reeves. He's a fantastic efficiency guy.
Yep.
I just don't see him being the 43rd best player. Even here, the ranking is 39th.
Yeah, no, look, there's always a little bit of what happens. And I know there's a little bit of talk as well about what happens with LeBron. Will LeBron be on the team? I don't think we see him go away from the team. You know what I mean? I don't think he's out. So I think that taking him here is at his peak in points, but in category leagues around 40, I think there's other guys I'd rather on my team. But you can see that I like to draft players down and see what their ceiling becomes. And this is him basically around his ceiling.
Yeah, and it's difficult to win your league, win your championship. If you're taking guys at their level, you want to be able to create that, I guess, the value. At every pick, you want upside. And that's how you incrementally improve your team, get that value, and ultimately win the league. Number 40, rounding out the top 40 is Derek White. We mentioned him and Jaylen Brown. Are you taking him here, or is there too many risks with the Boston Celtics this season?
There's risks, but this is fine. Again, this is the ceiling. You're going to see we've seen Derek White be an absolute stud in Boston as well. We have seen him play very well. He was the 39th place player down the last 3 months of the season. So I like to look at that track as well for teams like the Boston Celtics who are competing for championships. This is what he returned last year. He's not a great point scorer, but he does fill the cup. 4.6 rebounds a game, 5.2 assists, and less steals than Tyler Hero, funnily enough, and less efficient from the floor at 440, just to say. But we can't expect him to carry all the load. We know that Anthony Simons is still there until he's not there in Boston. This is a fine pick.
I think he's a great pick for Roto. We haven't really touched on Roto, but for the fact that there is that little bit of risk with Boston Celtics and perhaps it's a tanking season, we don't really know how that's going to play out. But in a Roto situation, game cap situation, Derek White and Roto, this is a home run. Head to head, it's probably at value. Now,
it's at value.
It's at value. Jaren Jackson Jr., wow, 41?
This is one of the most wild ones so far. We're seeing him consistently going in the second or third rounds early. This moves him firmly into the fourth round. This is a great pickup. If you're drafting Jaren Jackson Jr. in the 41st round, and I know, but Matty, He was 42nd last year. It's bang on. Oh yeah, no, it's fine. This is what he brings to the table here. You don't always get this in the 40s. This is a great pick at 41.
Starting the season injured?
Yep, he'll be fine. We've seen it before.
Fine. You're okay with that?
We'll be fine. Again, we've seen it before. We've seen him come back in. He probably won't be missing much time from what we're hearing as well. So that's very interesting for me to see and to hear, is that we're not going to be missing much time. That I liked.
And that's probably a factor as to why that ADP is so low compared to what we're used to seeing, particularly in the category league.
And if you are buyer beware, if you're risk adverse and he falls down your draft board, I'm just like, I've got an IR spot. I'll take you.
Yes. Now, let's get into a couple of Hornets. Miles Bridges at rank 42, ADP of 48.3, decent in points, but I don't think he gets to that level next season.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's fine. Brandon Miller's making his way back in here. This is way too early for Miles Bridges. So shout out to the Charlotte Hornets and to him, who maybe can put together a team on the floor for once. If LaMelo Ball, the next guy who you can see here in points leagues, is the 21st player, and you just want to draft him there. Of course you do, because he's LaMelo Ball. He looks fancy. He does fancy things with the basketball. It looks tricky and cool, like you're playing 2K, but he just doesn't play any basketball. And now, if you take away his turnovers, the man shoots up the board, but we just never trust him at 40s. So if we can get him, we get him. We hope he plays. I think the Hornets play basketball this year.
I think so too. I'm okay with LaMelo. I think this is a great pick. I think there's a lot of value here. If you can get him at pick 43, or as the ADP indicates, 49.3, I think that's a home run. And if things don't work out, look, at least it's not your first, second, or third round pick. 49.3, wonderful for LaMelo. Desmond Bane, we spoke about him, new team this season. I think he's just going to be pretty solid across the board. But at 50.1,
this is fine. This is very good. This is some very, very good pickings right about here. I'm loving this. So if you can be picking up Desi Bane in your drafts around 44, please and thank you, do so.
Yep, and Jalen Green, another points league guy, he's going to have a lot to do at the Suns, but do you think he's worth a pick around that 50 mark?
This is the frisky, risky zone of a draft board. I'm not taking him at 50. I think he'll definitely score a lot of points. I think we're drafting him at his ceiling right here. I want to see at least one even shitty preseason game of Jalen Green playing beside Devin Booker and seeing what he does in that role. And I might even leave Jalen Green off my draft board entirely until the time I see him play basketball, because I want to see him play basketball. I want to see if Jonathan Kuminga goes to the Phoenix Suns. I want to see what they roll out there as their starting lineup at the end of the day. I think with him and Mark Williams in a pick and roll lob thread is a lot of fun. I think he doesn't really have that with Alpi Şengün. But yeah, man, look, I want to see it because I actually think it might be okay.
Interesting. I think I'll leave him alone at this point, but it will be exciting nonetheless. Now, let's round out the top 50. Zion Williamson. There's a couple of risky picks here, but Zion at a rank of 46, ADP of 53.3. You look at his points league per game. Remember, per game. What did he play? 30 games last season? So in totals, absolutely drops down the board. But in per game value, man, he's an absolute stud in points league. We know about his deficiencies in category leagues, but you look at that -1 ranking, again, shoots up that board. But a ranking of 46 with his history of being injured, are you taking him here?
Matthew, think good. I kind of don't mind Zion with what he can bring to the table, depending on my build around this zone. Like I would generally put him in, especially when he has his hot streaks, because he's a sexy name. He's a well-known name. You can get such great trade value on him if he's blowing up and the Pelicans are playing basketball and he's playing games. You can get trades with Zion Williamson. Like, yeah, man, he's healthy. Especially if you're trading him to someone who's new and may not be fully aware of how little he plays. I think he only played 82 games.
My friend. We were talking about exploiting the system, but that's exploitation. How do you feel about that?
I'm fine with that in a draft. But again, but when you're selling, you should be selling at what they're doing right now. And especially if you can move for something else that you want to complement your build, You do it. You don't just draft an asset to be a draft asset, to be a trade asset. You draft the best on board that fits your build. You never draft thinking, oh yeah, but I can trade him. No, because you might not be able to, and they could go down in a week. But it's not a bad option if he is playing incredibly well to start the season to move off him to be like, look, man, Pelicans are making a run for it. New team, Jordan Poole's there now. Look at that chemistry, whatever. Package it how you want in your salesman, ship your sales ship, and then move on. Because the next guy at 47, Josh Giddey, he's looking good, man. And this is a contract year for him now with everything going on in Chicago. I am 100% fine with this. I think it's too high, but I don't think he's going to be falling past number 50 on many draft boards. So at 47, you're going to probably have to pull your trigger on it at this point in time.
Fun fact as well, Matty. Maybe I shouldn't bring this up, but you met him the other day. Nice guy.
Did. Lovely guy. Second time I managed to meet Gids. I think he's been working out, man. I think he's looking really healthy. I think he's looking really good. He's very confident. When I spoke to him, he was like, I mentioned nothing about the contract. I'm like, this is going to be a big year, huh? He's like, he just looked. He was like, yeah, man, gonna get it. I was like, all right. He said, he's like, yeah, man, I'm gonna get it. I'm like, I kind of said, I was gonna be a big year, huh? He's like, yeah, man, I'm gonna get it. He was like, you know what? No matter what happens with this contract situation, I'm gonna put it on this year. And we saw him put it on. We saw him go into category leagues. This was his whole season value. But again, his end of season value when everything settled down and he's found his form there. He is point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward eligible in some leagues. He plays 32 minutes a night. Now his points are not going up. His threes could drip over 2. And he was the 21st ranked player last year. If I am getting the 21st ranked, maybe he comes back as the 35th best player. But if I'm getting him a round later, that's extra value that I'm getting in my picking. And I'm good with that.
Speaking of value, Avicii Zubats, he was a popular pick, particularly in the experts realm last season. Look at that, -1, 25th.
You know how much I love my Zoo.
You know how much him going into draft season last year. But what do we think of him this season? He's got a little bit of backup. A young man.
Did I drive the boat? I think I much captained the boat on the Zoo train.
You were one of the captains.
On the Zoo yacht.
Yeah, so hats off to you, Captain.
Look, I love Zoo. I still love Zoo. I still just don't love Zoo as a 50 pick. I love Zoo when I can get Zoo, like I got Zoo last year. In fact, I was going to pick him just then in an industry mock draft. I brought it up to check this. He went in the 60s. He went at 60, if that's 12, he went at 62 in the draft. He went to Adam Stock. Shout out to you, Stocky. 62. So this is where he's going in an industry expert mock. People are going to be driving the Zoo train again this year off naming what he did last year. That's buying into the hype. Don't believe the hype. Don't take him in the top 50 this year. If you can get him again at 55, 60, 65, just like we did in the industry mock draft, that's the suitable drafting area for him. He has more backup. I expect there to be, I expect Lopez to get some minutes. And I expect Collins to play a bit more small ball 5. I expect it to drop a little bit. Look, if I can get Zoo in the 70s, I'll be laughing this year. But again, after people have hot seasons, there's a bit of shine. People panic. They need to fill that center spot. They're going to take him, and that'll eat away your value. The next guy, I think he was the 84th player, according to some last year, 89th player, 99th in cat leagues. He just signed the 4-year extension for $150 million today. This is too early for Mikal Bridges, mate.
Way too early. No matter what format, it's just he was 99th in points league, 89th in NICAT. He's traditionally a top 50 guy when he's at the Suns. Top 50 guy. Yeah, he's so efficient. He doesn't do anything wrong. He's just not the guy anymore. But he's so important for real life basketball for the Knicks that he's going to play big numbers. But there's just a lot of mouths to feed. So again, with the Knicks minutes likely to drop off as well, I think getting him at this point is a really bad pick. So avoid at this area. And to round out the top 50, our guy, Kawhi Leonard, first preseason or off-season that he's actually coming into camp healthy in quite some time. Yeah, I'm excited by this guy.
Yeah, man. Look, you know where I stand on Kawhi Leonard. I think even in the draft that I did, the people people didn't show up or whatever. Like, yeah, people forget about Kawhi. For the whole reason he's injured, he's not injured. This will change dramatically, I feel, come draft day. I love Kawhi and getting him at value. In fact, last year, in 37 games, according to Basketball Monster, he was the 25th best player. In hashtag basketball, you can see here, he was the 29th best player. He did it in 37 7 games. That is insane to come back with that. I think he is in for another amazing season this year. If you can get this bloke in the 50s, you draft him and you use your IR spot for whatever games that he misses. You pull someone in for that week because you know that when what he's giving you in the game that he plays is better than most are going to get. If you can get him here at 50, you take him, especially in category leagues. You take the bloke. He is an absolute weapon, a superstar. I'm a massive advocate of drafting Kawhi. And as you've seen in a couple of mock drafts already, you've fallen, I'm taking.
If he's fallen that far, I'm taking him as well, my friend. Only a couple of disagreements on this one. I like this, but now that you guys know that the top 50, according to ESPN early ADP data, check out more from Believe in Fantasy on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel as well at NBA Fantasy Bible. Maddie, tell us what you're doing as well.
You can catch me here on Believe Old Man Squad coming up, and we have something exciting in the pipeline as well. There's a lot of great fantasy work going on. Make sure you check it out. And also check out the Instagram at NBAGWiz. We mentioned Josh Giddey. There's a special Josh Giddey competition coming up very, very soon, DMAC.
Make sure you check that out, guys. Thank you so much, Maddie. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you next time.